There we go. It's evened up a little bit, but still the majority of it, just barely. The majority says Elite 8 or better. That's where you think they're going. Middle section says they've got great defense, they'll be Sweet 16. And then just a few of you are negative Nellies who say they're out in round 2. All right, Mark, they've got Missouri coming up on Wednesday here. They've got Oklahoma. This is basically the Big 12 portion of your conference schedule. Then you got Oklahoma on the road next Saturday at noon, which would be like an 11 a.m. tip-off out there. Yep. Give me what fans need to know about Mizzou and about Oklahoma.
Well, Oklahoma we play on Saturday. Just beat Vanderbilt by 30 yesterday, so they're playing well. But Missouri, since we play them Wednesday, Missouri gets to the free throw line almost more than anybody in the country, which is concerning depending on how the refs call the game, right? We talked about depth. We talked about our physicality at the guard space. So we need to stay out of foul trouble. Rick talked about that early last night about being in foul trouble. They score a bunch. They're 13-0 when they score 80 points per game. So we got to be able to defend. They don't shoot the ball great from three, but they got the number 1 3-point shooter in the country. And so if we don't rotate, we saw that against Kentucky. We did not stick to our assignments defensively early. And so if we don't rotate and leave them with open shots, they're going to give us a dogfight and very well could beat us after coming off a big win yesterday against Mississippi State.
The things you have to be concerned about that we don't know right now. Rick Barnes wouldn't give an answer after the game. He just said there was no structural damage. We don't know if Zakai Ziegler is going to be ready to go on Wednesday or Saturday. Igor Milicic sounded like he wanted to give it a go yesterday but couldn't. His is just a sickness, but you wonder when will he be back, how much, depending on what type of sickness it is, 48 hours from now you still may be feeling it. Not to mention the fact you now have to worry. I'm sure they've quarantined him, but you do have to worry. As many people out there have the flu and the stomach flu and everything else right now. You don't want this running through your team. So it's pretty big. It's hard to do any kind of predicting right now because you've got a lot of question marks in terms of what your roster is going to be.
Yeah. Well, the key too is the edge is in the details with this basketball team. We're not good enough offensively, consistently, to be able to score enough to beat a team that averages almost 80 points a game. So we have to be detailed in our defensive rotations, detailed in our offensive execution to give us the opportunity to win against look. I mean, Missouri is a good basketball team that we've got to be prepared for.
Well, they're 6-2 in the SEC, I believe, or 7-2, 6-3. The one thing I would point out is I'm sure there are people right now saying, what are you worried about the roster? They just beat Florida. Didn't you just watch yesterday what they could do? I don't think you can keep that up. I don't think if you had to go without Ziegler and Milicic for another game or two, I don't think you just keep doing what you did yesterday, winning by 20. I don't see it happening.
No, and to the poll question, right? If the expectation is Elite 8 for a lot of folks or Sweet 16 at least, like you got to get these guys healthy. Now, I do think the silver lining is you got Dubar, you got some of those other bench players, some very meaningful, tough minutes to where now if somebody does get in foul trouble or somebody is banged up for a period of time, you don't have that steep cliff that you would have had with Zakai being out or with Igor not playing well.
Very good. Mark Pankratz, I appreciate you always coming in. When we come back, we're going to talk about a lot of other Tennessee sports, but as we go to break, in case you haven't subscribed yet, don't cost nothing. In case you haven't subscribed to our new YouTube channel, Sports Source Digital Network, we've got about 10 shows up there, so that's like 5, 6, 7 extra hours of programming, and that's just in 1 week. Here's a couple-minute look at 2.5 hours that we did this past week, what you can find on the Sports Source Digital Network. See you on the other side. Who are the top 6 coaching hires at Tennessee football over the last 50 years? Head coaches, assistants, coordinators? We'll tell you next.
Which VFL in the NFL had the best postseason game? We'll tell you next.
How does Tennessee end their struggles Saturday against Florida? And the 5 plays that are going to make you money. We'll tell you now.
Could an ordinance in the city of Sweetwater impact hunters all across the state of Tennessee? Find out next.
I mean, what he means to the Vols on the recruiting trail and also how he executes as a position coach. He is the lone position coach on my top 6.
Biggest thing he has is speed. Edge, speed, rusher. Because when you're in the league, they're going to look at every move. Those tackles are going to study every move, but there's no answer to speed.
But I think maybe even 3 points this week and get yourself right back out of relegation territory. I think that can happen for Wolves.
Well, sorry for the nervous laugh when you said that about Wolves getting a point or something. Possibly. One thing about Wolves, they do make chances. They just cannot put the ball in the net at the moment.
It's pretty simple. When you look at Arkansas taking on a team back at Rupp, I was there personally last year when the fans were leaving Rupp Arena calling Calipari Old Slick Suit. Well, with that being said, Old Slick Suit, he's going to go back home. He may not win this basketball game, but he's not going to get shown the door early. I think Arkansas's size as well as their length keep them in this basketball game.
So Byron Young, edge for the Rams, our torchbearer from the University of Tennessee among VFLs in the NFL in this year's playoffs.
So why would a ordinance in Sweetwater make a big difference if you deer hunt in Memphis, if you turkey hunt in Jackson, if you squirrel hunt in Smith County?
But there's lots of implications. I mean, they start with this and they could move on to bow hunting. They could hunting in general within a certain zone. Let's just blow it out to the county now, let's say. We're getting a lot of people moving into the area that are coming from other states that are not as firearm friendly as Tennessee, not as hunting friendly as Tennessee, not as fishing friendly as Tennessee, and here they are.
It went to Sal Sinceri, which if you were doing a bottom 6 board, he might be number 1.
Or 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.